Well, it has to be better coordination. What we've seen is a very raggedy form instituted by right-wing extremism. Everyone knows that the right-wing extremism in this country has targeted democratically ran cities. And quite frankly, they've been very intentional about going after democratically ran cities that are led by people of color. And their whole motivation is to create disruption and chaos, because that's what that particular party has been about.
And there it is. I just knew it was coming. I know you all knew it was coming. At some point in this whole situation, we all knew that he was going to play the race card. Those racist Texans down there are sending illegal immigrants to my city to make my life hard, even though I openly welcome these illegal immigrants to my city. So I just been listening to this guy talk. First of all, he tries his best to put on this fake political voice, this fake ass Malcolm X type voice, when he's nothing at all like that man. He's a typical hardline left-wing black liberal. That's what he sounds like. He doesn't sound like somebody who actually cares for black people. He doesn't talk like anybody like that. He talks like a left-wing black liberal who capitulates and kisses the ass of his white liberal handlers. And just listen to him. He's using all the buzzwords. People of color. He even said that saying that his mayorship is off to a slow start is racist. He said it's a microaggression. That's another buzzword. Microaggression, people of color, the black experience, all these terms. These are the typical things that you hear from these black liberals. But saying that his mayorship is off to a slow start is a microaggression. Saying that he's doing a bad job is also a microaggression because it's a racist attack against black men, allegedly. And even calling out those black teenagers in Chicago who always conduct these teen takeovers, who live these lives of crime, who are running businesses out of their neighborhood, robbing grocery stores out of existence. If you call them out, you're racist. It's an aggression against the people of color. Not colored people, because you can't say that, but the people of color. According to Brandon Johnson, all of this is racist. Anything except for kissing his ass, anything outside of kissing his ass is racist. But Chicago got other issues. He's just trying to deflect by pulling the race card. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Chicago. This is a Vice Signal podcast. So for the last several months, since all of these migrants, thousands of migrants have hit Chicago, tens of thousands of migrants, illegal immigrants, I should say, have entered Chicago, they've run out of adequate places to put them. They've run out of shelters that they can take from black people. They run out of gyms at schools in these black and lower income neighborhoods. They run out of space, and they run into resistance from the residents in these areas. So a lot of these migrants, these illegal immigrants, have been sleeping on the floors of police stations. Literally, you walk in, you'll see the front desk, the cop in the lobby area, the front desk cop. And then before you get to him, you have to step over a bunch of old sleeping bags, some old tissue and backpacks, dirty laundry and everything. And you might trip over one of them who's just sleeping on the floor, because we have a bunch of homeless illegal immigrants. Yes, we have people who travel halfway around the world to be sleeping on the streets of Chicago and in the lobby of Chicago police stations. But what's happened this last week, in the last 7 days or so, the cops told them to get out. They said, get the F out, because it wasn't in a nice way. We're going to look at the clip in a second. But they told these migrants, these illegal immigrants, y'all got to go. So what happened was Chicago spent millions of dollars, millions of taxpayer dollars on illegal immigrants, not on black people, not on lower income people, not on people who need business grants, not on people who are trying to build the city up, but they spent tens of millions of dollars on illegal immigrants out there because the Chicago residents vote for left-wing activists like Brandon Johnson and let them get away with it. And they'll vote for him again. Watch they vote blue again. Anyways, I'm getting off subject. They voted for these people in power. They spent millions of dollars on illegal immigrants. They built this shelter, this fancy homeless shelter for these illegal immigrants to take care of them on the taxpayer dimes. And a lot of these illegal immigrants say, you know what, I'm comfortable over here. I would rather stay where I am. I don't want it. No, thank you. I know you invested all this time, all these resources in it, but nah, we don't need it. I'll stay where I am. So let's take a look at the clip of what happened in this one specific police station and how this police captain talked to the illegal immigrants.
Begin here at 10 with breaking news. Migrants who were staying at the 5th District Police Station say they are spending the night outside in frigid temperatures.
They tell us they were forced to leave and take their belongings with them. CBS 2's Maribel Gonzalez is live in front of that police station in Pullman tonight. Maribel.
Yeah, that moment was caught on camera and then sent to us. The migrants that are here, as you can see behind me, right now are setting up their beds outside, some of them without a tent, just sleeping on the floor in the cold temperatures. You can also see some of them going in and out of the station lobby, but they tell us they're not allowed to spend the night there.
This is not a game.
Video sent to CBS 2 appears to show an officer from the 5th District Police Station in Pullman telling migrants staying in their lobby to leave.
I want everybody out the station, out this lobby, all this junk out of here.
Junk referring to their belongings. Volunteers who work with migrants here telling us this comes after some of the asylum seekers were taken to a shelter Tuesday. According to them, those who didn't go were told by the officer they could no longer sleep in the lobby despite the frigid temperatures.
I don't know for sure, but this is what I heard.
Okay.
That they got kicked out.
After hearing the migrants might have to spend the night outdoors, volunteer Jenny Leal and her sister scrambled to find an apartment where some of them could stay. They were able to take in 4 migrants tonight.
A harsh break for them, you know. They're out here in the cold, and this shouldn't be. This shouldn't be for anybody. We serve the homeless in Chicago too.
So she's letting her frustration show because a lot of these people on camera, they'll try to talk all nice. They'll try to act like they're good people. It's the Republicans, it's Greg Abbott, it's Trump. They're the evil people. They're the ones who treat these illegal immigrants wrong, but we love them and we're going to take care of them. But she just exposed how they really feel. Look, get your junk out of here. Get out. All of y'all. I need this place emptied out. They said, well, it's cold outside. It just snowed. There's ice on the ground. Look, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Get out. Kick them the hell out in the middle of the night in the cold. Then you had these people volunteering, talking about, well, we're going to find somewhere for them to live because this is horrible. This is terrible. It's too cold out here. So y'all take it up on yourself. Y'all spend y'all own money or whatever doing this. But the taxpayers in Chicago have spoken. And it amazes me, like I just said, that these people travel halfway around the world. Was this the American dream, or we all sold a lie? Y'all said Chicago is one of the best places in the United States. Let's go to Estados Unidos. Let's go to Chicago, and we're going to get taken care of. These Democrats who talk y'all up, said the Republicans are racist. These Democrats who said they're going to take care of y'all, that y'all are good people. You guys are just trying to make a living. These Democrats got y'all sleeping in tents in the snow. And that's all y'all similar for? Those are the people that y'all want to come and live around with? People who treat y'all like that? But let's take a look at a couple of these clips of these illegal immigrants.
The migrants say they want work permits to be able to move into their own places. And although they say they're thankful to the officers who've allowed them to stay here so far, they say the way they're being asked to leave and stay out in the cold is inhumane.
No nos pueden tirar como animales afuera.
We now want to turn to our forecast. Cold tonight, and there is snow on the way this weekend. Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon has a first look at our very seasonal forecast, Albert.
Yeah, snow in the forecast for Sunday. That's a busy travel day. A lot of people coming back home or headed home away from Chicago. So there could be some slick travel, especially during the morning hours on your Sunday. Tomorrow, though, cloudy skies for much of the day. A few breaks around this time tomorrow and not as cold. We only made it to 34 today. We'll be about 38 for the high temperature for Saturday. 36 at noon, 34 degrees at 5 p.m. There's the snow on Sunday. Will be with us during the pre-dawn hours, widespread between 7 a.m. and noon, and then wind down slowly as we head into the afternoon. And a first alert for early next week, we have 2 really cold mornings to tell you about. Monday and Tuesday morning featuring single-digit wind chills in many spots. So as we head back to work and school, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Monday and again on Tuesday. Temperatures out there right now, upper 20s and low 30s, at or below freezing in many locations, including 30 at O'Hare.
And one thing about these illegal immigrants is it's kind of like regular homeless people in America. You get comfortable. So these people, they've been living in tent cities. They've been living around crack and doo-doo, all these homeless people in America. And people wonder, why aren't they doing anything? How are you going to be homeless for 5-10 years? How are you okay with this? Because these people get comfortable with their way of life. They're not starving to death because you have all these churches, all these charity organizations that come out every morning, feed these people. They give them fresh tents, fresh socks, everything that they need to sustain themselves. And they can just sit there. They don't have to worry about the rules of the city. They don't have to worry about obligations like bills, normal American life, stuff like that. They got everything that they need to survive, and they're comfortable there. So when you have these illegal immigrants who've been sleeping on the floors of police stations for months on end, some over a year, they're comfortable there. That's their home. They've been getting food every day. They get fresh sleeping sacks, fresh socks, everything. This is their spot. They carved out this little piece of territory in the lobby of a police station. And they said, look, this is my home. I'm comfortable here. I don't want to go to this new place that you built, whatever place, however fancy you say it is, even though it's just like an upgraded version of a tent city, a cleaner government-sponsored tent city. They don't want it. So some of them, like you're saying, oh, it's retaliation. We don't want to leave our home and go to this place that the Chicago government wants us to go to because we're comfortable here. So the best thing that you can do for these people, they're demanding work permits. I don't know if that's a good idea, because if you start doing it, you're going to incentivize more of them. Like New York, you're going to incentivize even more of them to come. Like, hey, look, you come to Chicago, they're going to give us all types of welfare and work permits so you can get a job and you be kosher. No, the best thing to do is to deport them. Send them back to their country, wherever they came from. Send them back there. You're going to disincentivize more from coming, and then you can help alleviate that situation. Because I was saying months ago, what the hell is going to happen in the wintertime? And remember, it's not even winter yet. What's going to happen to all of these children? You're talking about all the poor kids. Yeah, the parents drugged them to that situation. Poor kids. Parents' fault. Yeah. What's going to happen when we're at sub-zero temperatures? What's going to happen when Chicago gets hit with a winter vortex? So it's getting colder, and the Chicago residents are getting more and more frustrated, more pissed off, and Brandon Johnson is looking more terrible, and the DNC as a whole, the Democrat hive man, is looking terrible. So something has to be done with this, and I say the thing to do is to send them back. Now the left, they're totally okay with this because they'll talk up these illegal immigrants, but they leave them to sleep on the icy streets in Chicago. They leave them to be in a state of homeless people. Even though they spend all this money, you have thousands of them sleeping on the streets in the snow, on the icy cardboards, rats and stuff going around. It's disgusting. But these Democrats say, okay, this is a long-term investment. These initial illegal immigrants are going to suffer greatly, but in the long run, we're going to have a lot more voters because we're going to keep telling them Republicans are racist, and they're just going to vote blue. 2 out of 3 are going to vote blue. And then we're going to make the country less white because these white liberals hate themselves. So they want to flood the country with illegal immigrants, specifically Latinos. They don't want too many Haitians and Africans coming in, but they want a lot of Latinos. So they want to make it more brown. You know, you got to talk about the different shades. So this is all part of the Democrat plan. And speaking of Democrat plans, we're going to move on to Florida. We're going to talk about the 2024 Democrat primary because the Democrats, the DNC, and Biden and his handlers have a plan to cheat in the primaries. These guys are so desperate that they need to cheat in the primaries. But before we get into that, if you like my channel, you want to support me, you want to support my channel, check out some of my new merch, including my We Will Not Comply mug. So as you guys see, we have something going on in China, some type of mysterious illness going on. Again, this ain't 2019, this ain't 2020. We're talking another one because they're coming back with it. And we're going to talk about the white lung disease going on in a second. So Republicans are already calling for lockdowns. Some of the Democrats are calling for lockdowns because these people in the Unity Party want to lock down the country and enrich the powers that be, the biggest corporations in the United States, the big pharma. They're going to make billions of dollars, again, if they successfully lock down the country. They want us to walk around with masks on our face, even though it was proving that the masks don't work. So with this mug here that we're going to hold on to, when they come to us talking about put a filthy piece of cloth on your face, because it's allegedly going to help you with viruses, when all it does is just enrich the mask manufacturers and further spread fear, we will not comply. So check out tvsmerch.com, see what you like, check out some of the gear over there, tvsmerch.com.
Donald Trump 2.5 years ago tried to end our democracy. He tried to overthrow an election. He led a violent attempt to overthrow an American election. My God, if you can't be indicted for that, there's nothing you can't be indicted for.
What are your thoughts on the blatant attack on black people's voting rights in this country?
Well, white folks are mad. Doubly mad. Georgia voted Democrat. for the first time in almost 20 years. The rednecks down south don't like that. Stacey Abrams handed Joe Biden Georgia on a silver platter, and they say this ain't gonna happen again. So now they down there rolling back the rights, and you know who it looks like they're targeting when you look at the new requirements? Black elderly and black ex-offenders.
This is not just about voting, right? It is really about maintaining a democracy, which this country, despite the way that this country was founded, maintains that it has been a democracy and it's been striving for this vision that it was founded on. But we haven't reached yet. Voter suppression is a really big deal in the United States. It's been something that's been since, women, Black folks, people got the right to vote, right? And so it starts with not everybody having equal rights to vote, which you definitely suppress people if they can't actually exercise their right in democracy. And what it looks like in modern ages is things that might not seem trivial, but are to a lot of people. Like one, ID laws. Voter ID laws, when they ask you to show an ID, if they didn't have it, then they had to go through a process and then they couldn't vote if they don't have a voter ID, right? In different states, you have different checks and balances that you have to go through to even register to vote.
I continue to be amazed, even though I don't know why, because I shouldn't be surprised at this point about how the Democrats behave, how they project. They go around screeching and screaming, talking about, oh, you're racist, you're all for voter suppression. All of these clips that we have of people talking about, they're trying to end our democracy. Trump is going to end our democracy. Democracy this, democracy that, even though the country's a republic. When they say end our democracy, what they really mean is they're trying to end our liberal way of life and our liberal way of ruling the country. That's what they really mean. But they screech and scream about voter suppression and democracy when look at what they're doing in Florida. You have 4 Democrats. A lot of people don't even know this, but you have 4 Democrats running for president right now. And the reason why most people don't know it is because the Democrats, the DNC, and Biden's handlers have decided to suppress, and the news media, the Democrat left-wing mainstream media, they've all suppressed Biden's opponents. So Biden is not running for president uncontested on the Democrat side. There's a Democrat primary, just like we have Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, all of them going at Trump. You got Cenk Uygur, Dean Phillips, and Marianne Williamson, even though Cenk Williams, I don't know about him. You got these 3 people going against Biden to take the Democrat nomination to be president. So they have to go through the entire process. There has to be a vote. And now New Hampshire, South Carolina, all these places have to vote for who they want to be the party nominee. But the media acts like Biden is the only one and the Republican is going to face Biden because they're suppressing these guys' image because they don't want anybody to know that these other 3 people exist and have any shot at all of taking out the empty suit in Joe Biden, who they can control with ease because he has dementia and his brain is shot. But what's going on in Florida is they've canceled the primary. Back in October, the DNC and the Florida Democrat Party created a list, an official list who's going to be on the ballot during the Democrat primary. There are 4 people running for the Democrat nominations. They only put Biden. They left the other 3 people off the list. They didn't even tell the 3 people they left out the list until over a month later. They said, oh yeah, a month ago when we made this list for who's going to be on the Democrat primary ballot, it was only Biden. We left you guys off, but we're telling you now, but the deadline's about to hit, so it's too late, so you can't join. And because Biden is going to be running uncontested in Florida, that means he automatically wins all the votes in Florida. Therefore, we can just cancel the primary altogether, and you guys shouldn't even bother showing up. That's the DNC at work. So all those millions of black people down there, all those other brown people they talk about voter suppression, talking about Ron DeSantis is evil, he's running Florida to the ground. The Democrat leadership in Florida has stolen the votes, suppressed the votes from Democrat voters in Florida. So you got big populations like in Jacksonville, a lot of black people over there in Jacksonville, Florida, a lot of Haitians up there, or a lot of second, third generation Haitian Americans down there. Jacksonville has a big black population. You have a lot of brown people down there in the Miami area. Their votes are irrelevant. If they wanted to vote for a Democrat other than Joe Biden, which is their lawful right to do, it's been stripped from them by Biden's handlers and the DNC. So they do all this crap talking but they're the ones actually suppressing votes. And they've been doing it forever. It was the Democrats who were passing all of these anti-voting laws back in the day, back during the Civil Rights Movement, back during the Jim Crow era. That was the Democrats. Even though they claimed the party switched, but that's a different story because it didn't. The Democrats are still doing it. They've been doing it the whole time with their superdelegates. So the superdelegates, one person is a superdelegate. That one person is assigned by the DNC, by the Democrat powers that be, and their vote is equal to the votes of 8,000 regular Democrat voters. So one single Democrat Party elite can outvote an entire county of individual voters for the Democrat Party. Look at what they did to Bernie Sanders. Before there was even a vote cast, when Bernie Sanders was challenging Hillary Clinton, all of these Democrat elites said, you know what? Our votes matter way more than the ordinary voters, and we all pick Hillary. Damn what y'all voters have to say. So even if all of y'all vote for Bernie, our votes, a handful of us, can outweigh all of y'all, and we're still going to push Hillary to the top. But y'all just been sitting there taking it. Y'all Democrat voters talk all this crap about the Republicans engaging in voter suppression. What the hell do you call a superdelegate when one Democrat Party elite gets to outvote 8,000 voters? Isn't that voter suppression? When the Democrat Party says, damn all the Democrat voters in Florida, we're automatically handing the state of Florida to Biden in the 2024 Democrat primary election. Isn't that voter suppression? But I'm asking all this rhetorically because I know the Democrat voters are just going to sit here and take it. What Dean Phillips and Marion Williamson, Cenk Uygur, what they did is they're still kissing the DNC's ass, but they're sending a strongly worded letter to the DNC headquarters saying this isn't right, this is voter suppression, you guys are wrong for this is a terrible thing, the voters need a voice. But at the end of the day, the voters in Florida, whether they wanted to vote for Biden or not, and whether they think this is wrong or not, next year they're going to vote for Biden. So it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because these people are going to bitch and cry just like all these Bernie Sanders. I've talked to some of them. These Bernie Sanders zealots, they love them some Bernie Sanders, think Hillary Clinton was so terrible. At the end of the day, even though they cheated, the DNC plus these superdelegates straight up screwed Bernie Sanders out of that nomination back in 2016. These Bernie Sanders voters capitulated, kissed the DNC's ass, and went out and voted for Hillary after their guy was cheated out of the nomination. So whether you want to vote for Dean Phillips or whoever else in Florida, at the end of the day, you're going to vote for Biden. So all this bitching and crying about voter suppression from the Democrats doesn't even matter. And I'm just calling out because honestly, I think it's funny. I mean, it's terrible for the country because these Democrats are getting away with it. These Democrats are basically running authoritarian style elections. Like Dean Phillips says, I would expect to see something like this in Iran, not in Florida. But the Democrat Party, the voters, they're just going to go along with it. So what else can you do? Just like those voters in New Hampshire, when they always are the first primary, but the DNC said, look, you guys are too white. Y'all like 90% white, and white people don't like Joe Biden as much as they like other Democrats. So we need to have a state with more of those Negroes, like South Carolina, because they'll vote for Joe Biden no matter what. Because remember, Joe Biden told them if they don't vote for him, they ain't black. So we know that New Hampshire, we know y'all been the first state in the primary for the last 100 years, but damn it, we don't care. South Carolina's going first. They have more black people. The voters up there in New Hampshire, they just sat there and took it. Same thing is going to happen in Florida. New Hampshire voters and Florida voters, they're just going to go out and vote in droves for Joe Biden in November 2024. Okay, so we're going to talk about something that I mentioned earlier. I mentioned that white lung disease, the whole thing going on in China, and it's spreading already across the world. We got cases in Ohio, we got cases in Sweden and Denmark. So we have some type of mysterious disease going on. Now they're saying there's some type of specific pneumonia. We're going to get into the article in a second. But the media and the feds, they're already saying, no, it has nothing to do with China. Even though a couple of weeks ago we had a mysterious lung illness going on. They said they didn't know what it was. They said, no, it's pneumonia, it's a flu. No, it's some type of novel thing. No, it's not novel. We don't know what it is, but something's spreading. We know what it is. We know that it's the flu. We know it's pneumonia, but then we don't know what it is. That's what they said. But something's going on, and people are more alert now when these things happen versus 2019 and 2020 when they were able to successfully fearmonger the majority of the population. People are more aware of these things now. So good luck trying to trick people with some BS illness. So let's get into this article. Let's see what's going on over here in Ohio with this white lung disease. How to understand Ohio's white lung syndrome pneumonia outbreak and why it's not linked to China. So this is an article from the Independent, and the Independent wants to frame this in a way, even though we really don't know what exactly is going on, but they want to frame it in a way so that you're already thinking, oh, okay, this isn't the same. This is just a coincidence. So it could be, maybe it is, maybe it is not, but they can't just outright say it like that unless they're trying to deceive people or frame people's minds in a certain way. Health authorities in Ohio have alerted in recent days of a pediatric surge of cases of pneumonia in the state. So that whole pediatric thing is extremely relevant because the C-19 virus, the average age of death was 80 years old. The average age of life expectancy in the United States is 80 years old. Less actually for men. It's like 77 for men. So that means the people who died from C-19 allegedly died, they were already dying. They were already going to die. If this average person was going to die at 80 and then they got C-19 and died at 80, what was the effect of the C-19? But now the fact that it's a more pediatric illness is more cause for concern, because there was no concern, even though people tried to fearmonger, there was no concern for children. Children weren't dying in bad time. The only children who died from C-19 allegedly died from C-19. And I always say allegedly because they twisted health records for pharmaceutical money for big pharma. So we don't know who really died from it or not. But the only children who died from this were children who already had other illnesses. So if a child had leukemia or something else going on with him, then they will say, oh, well, he had C-19, so it was a C-19 who killed him. And it was only a handful. Generally speaking, if a child got C-19, you wouldn't be concerned at all because 99.9% of the time that child will be A-okay. But now they're saying, oh, this disease is more pediatric, so now you can be concerned about the children. And when the children start dying in droves, now the human race is in trouble versus the people who are already going to die. The Warren County Health District said in a statement on Wednesday that 145 cases of pneumonia have been reported in children between the ages of 3 and 14 since August. In an initial news release on Tuesday, the health district confirmed that the spreading illness was deemed an outbreak due to the above average case volumes. Yeah, the word outbreak is a trigger word because when people think outbreak, they're like, God damn, this thing is just spreading everywhere. Everybody's getting, people must be dropping dead on the streets. Recent media reports have drawn comparisons between a spike in cases of mycoplasma pneumonia dubbed white lung syndrome in both Ohio and China, but health officials in the states have warned that the outbreak is not linked to China, meaning that the strains seen by Ohio doctors are not spreading from country to country. And how the hell do y'all know this? If this thing is so new, how do you know somebody from China or some people from China didn't come to Ohio and spread this disease? How the hell do y'all know this? Although cases have risen in Ohio, medical experts said the trend was somewhat expected as part of flu season and that it was potentially exacerbated by COVID restrictions being dropped. Yeah, I can see some truth to that because what happened, especially in China, is the lockdown restrictions were so severe and so long, especially with children, that you weaken their immune system, because the best thing for humans to do to protect themselves against these coming flus and other respiratory illnesses are to be around other humans. Herd immunity. So when you are locked down, when you're suppressed for years on end, especially as a small child, you don't get a chance to be exposed to other dirty people, to other common diseases that affect humans. You come out, your immune system hasn't been strengthened to protect you against getting these diseases. So if you're locked down in China for a couple of years and they let you out and now you are exposed to these diseases or these bacteria, your immune system can't handle it, and a case that would have been extremely mild or asymptomatic for you, now you're in the hospital because the government decided to lock you in your house for a couple of years, or the government decided, hey, we need to shut down schools, or we need to shut down restaurants and stuff like that. That in both China and the United States, you weaken the immune systems of the populations, especially the children, by keeping people from around each other. So If anything, if that's true, that's the government's fault. That's the Democrat leader's fault who wanted to sink the economy to blame Trump. The government, California, the government, New York, these other Democrat-run places, and the Republicans did it too, but they kind of learned these places that locked down for these very lengthy periods of time, it's their fault that the immune systems of these children are so weak. We have no evidence whatsoever of any kind to any outbreak statewide or internationally, said Clint Kong, a family physician and medical director of the Warren County Health Department. We don't have any evidence to suggest this is anything but routine, standard winter bugs causing pneumonia and higher rates in kids. Yeah, that could be true. It could just be you have the normal fall and winter viruses and bacteria going around, but because these children were locked down by Democrat dumbasses, that more of them are being severely impacted by these illnesses. Dr. Koenig, who emphasized that the cases of pediatric pneumonia in Ohio are not a new or novel virus, but rather strains of pneumonia that already circulated in the U.S., Warren County District reports that most children are recovering at home and no deaths have been recorded in relation to the outbreak. So that's some good news. I know this whole thing is new, so we'll see what happens. It could just be a disease, like I just mentioned. It could just be some disease spreading and the population is more susceptible to it for those reasons. Or it could be something that's going on. So if children start dying, we're going to see how the media tries to spin this, how Big Pharma pushes the politicians to spin this, because there are already reports of some politicians want lockdown. So we're kind of in wait and see mode with this whole thing because it's really new. It's the reason why I'm mentioning it to begin with, why I'm talking about it to begin with, because I want people to be on alert. I want people to be aware of what's going on in the country. I'm saying, hey, it could just be a coincidence, or Big Pharma, the feds, China, and all of them could be covering something up. Like they covered up the lab leak over there in China with C-19 when Fauci and them engaged in gain-of-function research. And next thing you know, the whole world is locked down because of their idiocy and the fact that they lied to the American people about what really happened. So here they're trying to compare the two illnesses to explain why Ohio and China aren't the same. So let's take a look. The Warren County Health District said the main types of pathogens detected were Streptococcus pneumonia, adenovirus, and mycoplasma pneumonia. Meanwhile, cases in China include respiratory illnesses such as influenza, rhinoviruses, and mycoplasma pneumonia. So here's the thing. There's a lot of overlay between these illnesses. You can't say, well, the ones in Ohio, they're like this, the ones in China, they're like this, because first of all, they both involve this same bacterial strain. But the environmental factors could make the other parts a little different. Like in China, you have more cases of the flu, where there are less cases of the flu in Ohio. But that could just be an environmental factor or geographical factor, because take away this white lung disease. In China, these areas in China, we're probably going to see more cases of the flu anyways compared to Ohio. And Ohio was probably going to see more cases of strep throat and other things than China. But what they do have in common is this goddamn white lung disease. And you can't say people haven't traveled from China to Ohio. I know they're trying to keep panic down, but they're the ones who created this mindset in people to begin with by fearmongering in order to win an election, and fearmongering in order to enrich Big Pharma. So let's go down here. In recent media reports, mycoplasma pneumonia has been described as white lung syndrome due to the whitening of lungs shown in x-rays of patients with pneumonia. The term is a medical buzzword. It is not used by physicians when treating patients. Health authorities in the United States have been in contact with their counterparts in China. Like Fauci, he said he was in contact with his people. What the hell does that mean? Who cares? However, medical experts have concluded that the outbreak in Ohio appears to be driven by the usual mix of respiratory viruses during the colder months, all of which previously circulated in the United States. So they talk about health experts. We don't trust these people. We all know, because they say, oh, he has the title of doctor or the director of the CDC or some admin person at the WHO, the World Health Organization. So you take a person with a nice title, put him in a suit, put him on TV, and everybody believes it. Like Fauci was a lying sack of shit. Even admitted to lying about the mask. Talking about, well, I said don't wear masks, but then I changed it to wear masks, and I lied to the American people on purpose because I wanted to save all of the masks for the medical industry. So you admitted to lying. But because he's a man with a title, oh man, he's the director of whatever the organization was, National Institute of Health, whatever the hell. And he looks fancy. He's old, so that means he has experience. He's in a suit, so we can totally trust in this guy. And plus, he's saying anti-Trump stuff, so we can totally trust him. But we don't trust these medical experts. The CDC was, for decades, one of the most well-renowned institutions on the planet. You can go back to look at zombie apocalypse TV shows and movies and stuff, and they always talk about the CDC. The CDC has the answers. We need to go to the CDC. Nobody cares about the CDC anymore. Their track record is shot because they are liars. They lied about the vaccine. They lied about the mask. They lied about the impact of C-19 overall. So they're talking about health experts. We don't give a damn about what these health experts say because most of them are liars. Despite the headlines that we're seeing in China, there's no indication that there are any new viruses or bacteria spreading from country to country, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we get it. We get it right here. They're explaining what the disease is. And then I want you to see this at the bottom of the article. So they said this white lung disease is a bacterial infection. Now let's go to the bottom of the article and look here. Health officials have recommended that everybody over the age of 6 months get an updated C-19 vaccine and their annual flu shot. Huh? The hell does that have to do with white lung disease? Are they related in some way? Or are you just putting in a plug for Big Pharma? Are you trying to say, hey, Moderna and Pfizer, look, we're going to make sure y'all make some money off this article. We're going to plug your ineffective vaccine. If it's a bacterial infection, how the hell is a viral vaccine going to help you? These people are full of it, and one thing that they feed off of, one thing that they prey on and succeed on is the ignorance of people. Because, oh, well, hey, I got the C-19 virus, I'm going to get it again, and it's going to protect me. I'm going to be safe from bacteria. I'm going to put a piece of cloth over my face, and it's going to save me. Even though the people telling you to wear the filthy piece of cloth and to lock down, they don't even do it. Like Gavin Newsom, for example, locked down the state of California, and then he was at the French Laundry having a birthday party with his friends. During the middle of lockdown, no mask or anything. So, bottom line is, my whole point is to say, research, think. Don't just trust anybody off the bat. Read multiple articles, read multiple reports, use your common sense, use your reasoning. Read reports outside of the United States. So, reports and opinions outside of the United States mainstream media, the Democrat left-wing media, who is the arm of the Democrat Party, who just pushes the lies that the DNC wants us to believe. Research, think is what I want to say, because there could be something more sinister to this, because like I was talking about the pediatric factor earlier, the fact that the average age of death from C-19 was 80, but now they're talking about this impacts children more. Well, C-19 was a very weak virus. And if people had a plot, like if it was a bioweapon or something, it was very weak. It was very ineffective as far as killing people. And the fact that the average age was 80 means it's an extremely ineffective bioweapon, which is why I never went along with that bioweapon thing to begin with. But now that it's impacting children versus elderly, way more relevant. And if we start seeing a bunch of children die from this, now we're in dangerous territory. Now that whole conspiracy theory, which I love me some conspiracy theories, as you can see here. Now that whole conspiracy theory about it being a bioweapon could be viable, because they can say, okay, we tried the first one. It was too ineffective. It was too weak. It only killed the old people. So let's make a better one. Let's make one that targets the youth, the children, the babies, and let's make it more potent. If we see something like that, now we're in bioweapon territory. And now there's more reason to really be alarmed by it. But that's not what we're looking at now. So we're going to keep an eye on this. We're going to follow it. It could just be another one, because remember, they tried to fearmonger with the monkeypox, which is apparently now only mpox, because if you say monkeypox, apparently that's racist. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on this and see what happens going forward. So if you enjoyed today's episode, leave a like, share it, and I'll see you guys next time.